The date is June 16th, 2008. The Seattle Supersonics owner Clay Bennett is in court right now. You see, when Bennett bought the team, he made a promise, both verbally and legally. He would do everything in his power to keep the Sonics in Seattle.
It is our desire to have the Sonics and Storm remain in Seattle.
Upon the discovery phase of this mysterious trial, Clay Bennett's emails will become public, revealing just how far he will go to make his promise a reality. I'm a man possessed. We'll do everything we can.
I am a man possessed. I am only beginning. I will do everything I can to get this done in Seattle.
There was just one problem though. The email he was replying to read, "Is there any way we can move here to OKC for next season, or are we doomed to have another lame duck season in Seattle?" That's right. Clay Bennett is in court right now because he's being sued by the city of Seattle for stealing the Sonics. To understand how we got here, we must go all the way back to the 60s. In 1967, a new NBA team will be born. Its name, the Seattle Supersonics. Why that name? Well, in the 60s, Seattle was mainly known for its ties with the aviation industry, in particular with Boeing, who at the time had just secured a government contract to build America's first supersonic airline, a passenger jet that would travel faster than the speed of sound. But there was one major concern: the noise. Supersonic travel creates a loud shockwave called a sonic boom, and no one knew how a typical American city would react to hearing that day after day. Thus, in 1964, the FAA launched an experiment to bombard a city with sonic booms to see how civilians would react. The city that was chosen? Oklahoma City. OKC in 1964 was a city that was only 75 years old. Known mainly for the infamous land rush, the city was desperate to establish itself and grow as a metropolis. Over the following 6 months, over 1,200 sonic booms were unleashed over the skies of OKC. The results of the test would prove disastrous. People were furious, windows were broken. The experiment would be stopped early. And by 1971, the Boeing project would be scrapped completely. For Seattle's economy, this would be equally disastrous. Now known as the Boeing bust, Seattle would go into a recession with unemployment rate hitting 14%, while the national average was 4.5%. This would lead to a tongue-in-cheek billboard put outside of the airport in 1971 that read, "Will the last person to leave Seattle turn out the lights?" However, as one industry would bust in 1971, another will be born. On March 30th, 1971, Starbucks would open its first store in Seattle. Despite it being originally just a local coffee bean retailer for the first decade, future Starbucks owner Howard Schultz would go on a trip to Milan, Italy in 1983. There, he would find the inspiration to transform coffee culture in America.
And I'm watching the ritual of coffee, the sense of community. I go in, I taste the coffee. And at that time, Starbucks had only been selling coffee for the home. And I'm thinking, wow, the opportunity is not for the home, the opportunity is in the store.
In the decades to come, Howard Schultz would grow Starbucks into a global brand. So much so that by 2001, he would have enough resources to own an NBA team. The team that he bought? The Seattle Supersonics.
Now, I didn't have enough money at the time to buy the team myself, and there was a competing group. And so we merged our efforts. We didn't really know each other, and a lot of people came together. So we had like 50 investors, two separate groups. I was the majority owner of the two groups, but I did not have 51%.
The Sonics in 2001 was in a peculiar position. After a strong era of being contenders in the West, the team was angling towards a rebuild. Schultz and team star Gary Payton clashed right away.
Howard is a con man, and I think what he did wrong was he tried to run an organization of basketball like a coffee business. It doesn't work that way at all.
You know, Gary Payton was an extraordinary player, but he and I just didn't kind of see the world the same way, and made a trade at that time for Ray Allen, which was great for the team.
Building under Allen, the team would thrive again. In the 2005 playoffs, the Sonics would enter as the third seed in the West.
4 years ago, the man who started Starbucks Coffee, Howard Schultz, paid $200 million. A very avid fan, attends all the games, very animated here on the sideline.
The Sonics would make it to the second round before falling to the eventual champ Spurs in 6 games after this Tim Duncan game winner. 3 months after the Sonics were eliminated comes one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history, Hurricane Katrina.
One of the worst natural disasters in modern day history forced the Hornets out of New Orleans with only 2 months to go before the start of this NBA season.
The city that came to the rescue? Oklahoma City. The timing for OKC couldn't have been more perfect. After the sonic boom disaster of 1964, the city never gave up its ambitions to become a world-class metropolis. In OKC, the airport is named the Will Rogers World Airport, despite the city not having any international flights. In 2002, OKC opened up a state-of-the-art arena, despite not having any premier professional sports teams. But it was this ambition and preparation that landed them the Hornets in 2005. Even if only temporary, the team would become an instant success, even more loved than in their original city. OKC had gotten a taste of the NBA. Now they wanted to keep it. Rumblings began to tremor about the possibilities of a sale of the Hornets to OKC.
I don't mind them sharing them, but owning them, that's where I have a problem. We want them back home. They can share them, but they cannot keep them. It's on loan. They're borrowing them.
New Orleans owner George Shinn was adamant that he was not selling. OKC needed another route. And all of this was being spearheaded by a businessman who was critical in making the OKC Hornets happen in the first place. His name is Clay Bennett. Bennett would become part of an OKC group focused on bringing the city a new team. They would wait patiently for their opportunity. After Seattle's playoff run, one would expect Howard Schultz to be electric, but that was not the case. Behind the scenes, Schultz was losing millions every year.
The reason? Well, Key Arena was the smallest arena in the NBA.
As the league salaries for players went up, the arena capacity and lack of luxury suites and shopping caused the Sonics to operate at a deficit.
It also didn't help that the Sonics had the quote-unquote worst arena lease in the entire league.
For his first option, Schultz would go to the city of Seattle directly to negotiate a new lease at a lower cost.
Despite the fact that we tried with the city council and the mayor, it was obvious that the city, after building a football stadium and a baseball stadium, the political powers at the time were not interested in doing anything to help try and renegotiate the lease or do anything to help us.
Just like in the 80s, this would cause Schultz to have another realization. Key Arena needed to be remodeled. Yes, of course, this wasn't as good as the Starbucks realization, but it nonetheless would change the city's history forever. From Schultz's perspective, both the Mariners and the Seahawks just got public funding from the state. Now it's the NBA's turn. He would head to Olympia, Washington to plead his case in front of the legislature's House Ways and Means Committee.
Now, this ownership group did not get involved to make a profit, but I can assure you we did not get involved to lose $60 million and with no light at the end of the tunnel either.
With him for credibility, Commissioner David Stern.
Substantial amount of work has been done for the baseball and football teams, and I'm here personally to find out whether the same is being considered fairly for the NBA.
We are on a collision course with time, and we have no alternative on a go-forward basis if we can't solve the problem in front of us.
What both Schultz and Stern didn't expect was what came after. House Speaker Frank Chop will be quoted as saying, "The NBA ought to get their own financial house in order when their payroll is over $50 million. For what is it, 10 players? I think that's a little ridiculous. They need to get their own financial house in order, and if they did, they wouldn't have to ask for public help."
I'm guessing that neither David Stern or Howard Schultz had ever been treated the way that Frank Chop and the legislature treated them.
Seattle City Councilman Nick Licata would even go on the record telling Sports Illustrated that the Sonics had close to zero economic or cultural impact to the city of Seattle.
It had to be mind-blowing for them to be treated so poorly.
From the state perspective, Key Arena was just subsidized for a remodel 11 years prior. that, by the way, David Stern seemed to not have a problem with at the time.
They got a beautiful building. It's intimate, the sight lines are great, the decorations are terrific. I think Seattle should be very proud of what's going on here tonight.
Furthermore, this proposed renovation would be mainly used to add luxury suites. It wouldn't affect the working class audience. In essence, the general public is being asked to fund luxury suites for the ultra-rich from the ultra-rich after you had just backed them 11 years prior. David Stern was humiliated that day, an offense he did not take lightly. For Schultz, this also led him to the inevitable conclusion.
So I decided, in the best interest of me and my investors, why don't we sell it to the other group? And the other group did not want to buy it.
Primarily because we were losing so much money.
But then I went out to everyone in Seattle that I thought had the means to buy the team, and no one showed up. Then we had a high-profile investor from Silicon Valley come,
Who flat out blatantly said, I will pay the highest price, but I'm going to move the team to San Jose. And so we rejected that. We said no. Then
David Stern was the commissioner at the time, and he said, I think I have a prospective owner who's willing to negotiate with the city of Seattle. But if he can't get a deal, he might move the team. But I can't imagine if the city of Seattle knows that someone from out of town is going to buy the team, they're going to negotiate with him.
Right.
That was the going-in assumption.
On July 18th, 2006, in a moment that caught everyone off guard, Howard Schultz would hold a press conference to announce that he was selling the Sonics to an ownership group from Oklahoma City, led by Clay Bennett.
Today, we stand before you filled with both great emotion and renewed hope and enthusiasm for professional basketball in the Northwest region. And I believe in my heart, as he has said to me and now to you, that he understands the public trust of Seattle and the Northwest and is going to try and do everything he can to keep the team here.
While on the surface, this looked like a genuine betrayal, but there was actually ample evidence that Clay Bennett had convinced Howard Schultz and Cole that he was keeping the team in Seattle.
1. Schultz had turned down a previous buyer who was open about their intentions to relocate the team. 2. Seattle had negotiated the deal through Ed Evans, who had ties with Seattle and didn't bring Bennett on board until later on.
We believed him. We had people who knew him, and he had some history here. And it made sense. And we're doing these late night phone calls. All of a sudden, in fact, Clay Bennett's on the conference call.
3. Schultz had made Bennett sign an agreement that he would for 1 year make a good faith effort to improve Key Arena to keep the team in Seattle.
But then again, when you zoom out of it all, Howard Schultz was selling the team to someone from OKC who had just tried to buy the New Orleans Hornets while they were in a national tragedy.
Bennett would fulfill his commitment, developing a plan for a new arena in Renton, Washington. Like Schultz, he would go to Olympia and ask for even more money than Schultz had the year prior. He would get laughed out the building.
The franchise will not remain in this marketplace without a new arena facility. If a commitment for a new building is not realized, then we will evaluate our options, which will include relocation.
On October 31st, 2007, Clay Bennett would notify David Stern that he would be relocating the Sonics to Oklahoma City.
We've had a team in Seattle for over 40 years. It's been a great city. It seems almost tragic that as a matter of timing, the people who were in power turned against the team.
However, not all hope was lost, as Steve Ballmer would step in the final hour to save the day.
Steve Ballmer and some other local Seattle businessmen came forward with a plan to renovate Key Arena, a $300 million plan where they were going to donate $150 million to the city of Seattle to renovate Key Arena. The city of Seattle guaranteed the other $75 million, and all we needed was $75 million authorized by the state legislature to give King County the power to do that. And
I'm disappointed to announce today that we are unable to meet the April 10th deadline for securing the full public investment in Key Arena.
Without a plan in time to renovate Key Arena, the NBA owners would vote 28-2 in favor of approving the relocation. But the city of Seattle still had one last trick up their sleeve.
You see, the city of Seattle had leased Key Arena to the Sonics until the 2010 season.
And they intend for Clay Bennett to honor that agreement, thus suing Clay Bennett. This was not a fight for money, they say. It's a fight for the culture and for the people. During trial, When Clay Bennett's public emails were released and subsequently went viral, Seattle had their smoking gun.
Could it be the smoking gun that helps keep the Sonics in Seattle? Emails last April between Clay Bennett and the team's other co-owners suggest that the plan was to move the team to Oklahoma City all along.
In an email from co-owner Aubrey McClendon to Clay Bennett right after the purchase, he would title the email, "The Oklahoma City Sonic Boom, baby." And it didn't just end there. McClendon would then go on the record in a statement to the Journal Record in Oklahoma, saying, quote, "But we didn't buy the team to keep it in Seattle. We hope to come here." The NBA was of course livid with this quote, fining McClendon $250K for the comments. Clay Bennett would also defend his intentions by sending this email to Commissioner David Stern. "I'm concerned that you may feel I have betrayed your trust. I view you as a role model, a deep and compassionate thinker, and a person with a rare and unique charisma that brings out the best in everyone you touch. You are just one of my favorite people on earth. I would never breach your trust." As absolutely remarkable as it may seem, Aubrey and I have never discussed moving the Sonics to Oklahoma City. And of course, we can't forget about this infamous email exchange from the beginning of this video. Considering all of this evidence, I think it's pretty safe to assume that the city of Seattle had a pretty solid case.
And every new email that's uncovered is another dagger in Clay Bennett's plans.
If successful with the lawsuit, the Sonics will be forced to stay in Seattle until 2010. That would surely give the city ample time to figure out the Key Arena solution with Steve Ballmer. However, hours before the verdict came in, this happened.
Welcome back. At 4 p.m. today, U.S. District Judge Marcia Peckman was expected to issue her decision about whether the Sonics would have to stay in Seattle for 2 more years. At 4, she released this statement, quote, "The parties have settled the case. Details of the settlement will be released by the parties."
Today, I am announcing a settlement with Mr. Bennett and the Professional Basketball Club. In exchange for terminating the lease 2 years early, Mr. Bennett has agreed to a settlement package with a payment of up to $75 million to the city of Seattle.
The city of Seattle was settled with Clay Bennett for $75 million. The Sonics will leave Seattle immediately. Upon the $75 million owed to Seattle, $45 million was paid right away. The other $30 million will be paid upon the condition that Key Arena will be renovated by 2009.
Now the state legislature must act. If it fails to approve public funding next year to remodel Key Arena, we will lose our rights to that second $30 million.
In 2009, Seattle would lose their right to the second $30 million, as the state again rejected the proposal. 44 years after the sonic booms were unleashed over the skies of OKC, the city would finally get its revenge. And how fitting for the team to be named the Thunder. Despite a rocky first decade in OKC full of ups and downs that had people believe that OKC was cursed, in 2025, OKC will win their first ever championship. The same year, the city would open its first ever international flight. OKC is truly international. For David Stern, Clay Bennett's controversial tactics will clearly leave a deep impression on him. In 2011, he would name Bennett the head of the NBA's relocation committee. In 2018, the city of Seattle will finally approve a $700 million renovation to Key Arena. All of it privately funded. Now, this building, in some shape or form, has been here since the 1962 Expo. Its floors have been walked by legends of history. The city has now finally gotten their upgraded arena, equipped with all the modern amenities that Key Arena could have only dreamed of. Yet, their most beloved tenant is still nowhere to be found. The Coliseum has been rebuilt. All the city can do now is wait and wait for the day their gladiators come home.
Off the pick, looks at the clock, fires a three.